had an executive tell me once that talking to me was like drinking out of a fire hydrant. So think of all the water rushing towards your face, because I would give so much context and so many details that they didn't know what I needed from them. If you don't know how to tell the story that goes with the work you're doing, you're never going to get the maximum amount of credit that you can. We are talking about storytelling for leaders. This is part of our communication series where we're really diving into what communication skills are required for you to ultimately find the growth and progression that you're wanting. And as you progress your career, this ability to tell a story becomes so much more important. And I see leaders struggle with this all the time, and they complain to me, I don't know what it means to tell a story. I am telling the story. It's just data, or it's just a readout. Why is it so tough? And it's because you're not following the right structure. Corporate life is a game, but no one hands you the rule book. Here on Secrets of the Career Game, we break down the unspoken norms and behind-the-scenes dynamics shaping your career today. I'm Kendall Berg, that career coach, and I guide professionals to grow, advance, and lead with clarity. Each week, we explore the tools, habits, and conversations that build confidence, presence, and long-term momentum. Every presentation that I make for senior leaders, every meeting that I run, every situation in which I'm communicating with a group of leaders follows the exact same pattern. And I'm going to share it with you today so that you can start to take control of your communication and see some success. So step number one, whenever you're presenting, whether this is a slide deck and you're going to be presenting to leaders, or you are just setting a meeting up for success, you always want to set context first. Something that people who are really junior have a tendency to do is we dive straight into the data, the purpose of the meeting, the request, without setting some background context. And while we think that this doesn't have a huge impact, over time it really adds up because it makes it harder for everyone who's joining the call to really start moving in the same direction. Most people are jumping meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting, and this is increasingly true the more senior that you become. And so what we want to make sure that we're doing is we are setting those people up for success when they're jumping from their last meeting into your meeting. All right. We don't want them to feel overwhelmed or lost or confused and waste valuable time within the meeting getting them up to speed. So we always start with context. Now, the way that I like to set context is I always start with the problem statement that we're trying to solve and the impacts of those problems. So say we're having a meeting to discuss a new report that we've built that's going to generate more revenue. The problem statement we're trying to solve is we don't have visibility into the primary drivers of increased revenue versus loss, and we want to make sure that we're not losing money and leaving it on the table just because we're not taking the right actions. That is the problem statement and the impact of that problem statement, the risk of not solving it. All right. When we set that type of context at the start of a call or at the start of a presentation, now everybody is aligned. Yes, that is a problem. Ooh, that impact's terrible. Okay. This is going to save you so much time down the road getting everybody to agree on what you're trying to accomplish. Because if we don't agree that the problem statement is the same, if we don't agree that the impacts of that problem statement are the same, it doesn't matter how great your work is, how analytically heavy it is, what data points you have. Nobody's going to care. It's not going to get prioritized or be valuable. So we have to start by getting alignment with that problem statement and the impacts. From there, once everybody is aligned that, hey, this is what we're trying to solve, then we're going to go into your needs and your options. So if this is the problem solving that I need done, then this is what I need from you. This is the outcome that we're trying to drive with this meeting, or these are the decision points I have for you in today's call, or this is where we're taking this problem statement, what we're trying to achieve with it. You're going to go from problem statement to needs. Now, generally when I articulate needs, it's going to come with options. That tends to be the structure that I like to flow to, because I find empowering other people to pick from a few options does a few things. One, it shows that you've considered multiple paths to success. When we just come forward with a single proposal and say, we need to do this, then people ask questions. Well, did you think about this? Did you think about this? Well, have you talked to so-and-so? What about this thing? But if we come to them and say, hey, we've evaluated 3 different options on how we could solve this problem, I have a recommendation, but what I need from you is a selection of which one of these 3 makes the most sense. Now, it's very clear what we need from them. We show them that we've done our diligence, we've considered multiple options. And the second thing that optionality does is we've now empowered them to make the call instead of feeling like our decision is the only right decision and everybody needs to agree with us. It is so much harder to pull people along and say, you have to pick my idea. It's option number 2. It's the best, than it is to say, hey, here are some options. What do you want to do? Here's the cost of each. Here's the impact of each. Here's what I would need for each. What do you guys think? Now it's collaborative. It's engaging. And when we set the context earlier, your context may go on for a little while. You may have a statement, problem statement, and impact. You may have, hey, here's the background. You may have, hey, here's what we're trying to accomplish, right? That may be 2 or 3 slides depending on what you're trying to present, but it's always going to flow into what you need and what their options are. Now, there may be situations where optionality doesn't make sense. I can't think of any off the top of my head because I use optionality for everything, but there may be some where like maybe we need to fire somebody and like there is no other option. This person needs to be gone. But you want to be able to articulate exactly what you need from your audience as well as what that gets them. That's why setting the impacts at the start is really important. I had an executive tell me once that talking to me was like drinking out of a fire hydrant. So think of all the water rushing towards your face, because I would give so much context and so many details that they didn't know what I needed from them. And it's so much better to be very clear. Hey, here's the context. Here's a problem statement. Here's the impact. Here's what I need. Now, if you are pitching a scope, if you are pitching a strategy, the next step after needs and options is going to be the org structure that is required to solve that problem. So in a tech space, this might be how you need your pod set up in order to deliver on a technical sprint. In marketing, this might be, hey, these are the resources that I need to deliver on these options. But you're going to have an org structure and a resource requirement that maps with everything you just discussed. Mistake people make is they say, hey, here's the problem statement. Here's what we need to do. And they go, great, go do it. And then the high performer takes all that work on themselves in addition to all of their other work. And it doesn't get done, or it does get done, but you're burnt out. The goal for this is to learn to tell that story. And that story comes with, here's the resourcing that I need. Here's the org structure that I need to deliver. Here's the tool set that I need in order to deliver this. And all of that needs to be comprehensive, because what we want for the leaders we're presenting to is they're aligned on the problem statement. They want it to be solved. They've selected an option that aligns with solving that problem that they're agreed with, and then we want them to buy in on giving you the resourcing you need to do it well. All 3 steps need to be hit. And then we end the meeting with next steps. Here's what I've agreed to. Here's the follow-up questions that maybe I didn't have answers to that I need to take back to the group. Here's the people I need to hire. Here's the option that I need to flesh out more. What are we going to do next? What is the next steps coming out of this? When you start to structure your communication this way, you're going to be so much more successful, right? Because needs and options may end up becoming a working session depending on the seniority of the group, and that's okay. And you may not need resourcing to deliver because you might need to just do it then. That's okay. But by following this 4-step process consistently in your meetings, what you're going to find is you have better alignment. People trust you to run more senior meetings or be in a more senior audience, and you're going to get better results on a faster time frame. People don't have to question that you know what you're doing because you've already articulated to them the value of what you're bringing to the table. Hopefully you guys found this helpful. If you did and you have any questions, make sure you put those in the comments below. Otherwise, check back in next week for some more great advice like this.